This is Chinese Pod. My name is Ken.
My name is Jenny.
Now, Jenny,
We are a restaurant.
we're in a restaurant.
And we want some seasoning,
We want some seasoning.
salt and pepper.
We're in a Western restaurant, I believe.
I don't think so.
Don't you think so?
Something about this dialogue tells me
We're not in a restaurant.
we are in a weird restaurant.
Okay, my take is that if it is a Western restaurant, it's a Chinese-run Western restaurant with Chinese style, because you get those too.
Yeah.
But it's not in a sort of fully blown Western
Exactly.
restaurant.
Well, there's something fascinating, culturally fascinating about this lesson.
Absolutely.
But let's listen to the dialogues.
Yes.
It should be quite straightforward.
I think it is. If you've never listened to Chinese before, you probably won't get that much from the meaning, but you can listen to the sounds and then we'll delve into every detail in a few minutes.
好。Dialogue first time.
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
什么东西？
盐和胡椒。
没有。
Second time.
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
什么东西？
盐和胡椒。
没有。
Third time.
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
什么东西？
盐和胡椒。
没有。
Wow, she's not very helpful.
She's not a very helpful person.
I wonder what kind of restaurant is it?
It's a
No
good guess.
salt and no pepper.
Well, it's not surprising. And generally in Chinese restaurants, you certainly don't have salt and pepper on the tables.
Exactly. They'll have to bring some from the back kitchen.
They'd have to go and search for it because it's not just part of the way you do it.
Or you're in some raw food movement restaurant where they don't
Exactly.
cook anything. They
But we
don't
can take
season
it,
anything.
absolutely. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, why don't we get through it a little bit and then we'll share some more ideas on that because it's kind of a fun topic.
好，小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
Miss, do you have salt and pepper?
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
Miss, do you have salt and pepper?
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？什么东西？
What?
什么东西？
What did you say?
什么东西？盐和胡椒，
Salt and pepper.
盐和胡椒，
Salt and pepper.
盐和胡椒，没有，
No.
没有，
Nope.
没有。
Curt.
Yes.
To the point.
Yeah.
She is.
对啊。
Don't mess with this, this
小姐，
person, whoever she is.
Well, let's take it from the top
Yes.
and look at exactly how the interaction went on.
Exactly.
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
Now, this gentleman addressed someone who's most likely to be a waitress in a restaurant.
对。
And he called her
小姐，小姐
xiao jie, meaning
，Miss。
miss. Literally, it means miss.
对，a young lady.
A young lady, a young woman.
Well, you might hear people address waitresses in different ways.
Yes.
服务员
Yes.
But 小姐 is also used.
Okay, xiao jie is quite common and it's perfectly acceptable.
Yes.
All right. Now, he asked the question, do you have salt and pepper? Now, so let's take a look at those two things. How do you say salt in Chinese?
盐，盐
Yan.
Yes,
Second tone.
exactly.
Yan.
盐，
And how did we say pepper?
胡椒，胡椒。
Hu jiao.
对，second and first tone.
Second and first tone. Could you put them together for us, please?
盐，胡椒，盐，胡椒。
That's salt, pepper.
对的。
Now, however, there's a question here, right? And the question is, do you have? So the verb to have is
有，有
yo,
third tone.
third tone to have. And because we're forming a question, we put a particle at the end of the sentence, and that particle is
吗
ma.
吗 So the full sentence, the full question is 有盐和胡椒吗？有盐 和胡椒吗？
Now, that's, I think, a challenging sentence for a newbie.
对。
Lots of second tones there. So it's good to practice if you can.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Chinese Pod Trivia. Our first question is, how long will it take you to become an intermediate Chinese speaker using the Chinese Pod app? Is it A, the rest of your life? B, you should already be an intermediate speaker? C, 3 months? Or D, Chinese Pod has an app?
You should already be in.
Ooh, that is incorrect. The correct answer is C, 3 months. That's right. Head over to ChinesePod.com now to register for your access to over 4,000 lessons. Get the Chinese Pod app now on Google Play or the App Store.
So the word for and here, the conjunction and is
和
he,
和
and it's also a
second tone.
So it's a good sentence for you to practice here. So Jenny, could we have it again, please?
有盐和胡椒吗？有盐和胡椒吗？
Now, literally translated would be have salt and pepper?
Question mark.
There
Yes.
you go. That's how it works. A good one to practice your tones on so you can repeat that at
Exactly.
home or wherever you are. Now, she gives him a somewhat short and not a terribly friendly answer, if you ask me. She says,
什么东西？什么东西？
什么东西?
对
Now,
That does sound quite direct.
it does.
But it's something I find foreigners might get quite a
Yes.
lot in China, whether because of your pronunciation or just culturally, right? The way we think are so different.
Yeah,
For example, in the Chinese restaurant, you might not get salt and pepper on your
Yes,
table. So when
yeah.
you ask for it,
like-
the Chinese wait staff is, what?
It's kind of
Yeah.
flummoxed by that. It's like,
Perplexed.
what did you just say? It's like, it's almost, yeah, because this is the point. You don't see salt and pepper on the table. And one other thing, you don't see soy sauce on tables unless it's very specific types of food, like
For example, dumplings.
But with rice and stuff like that, you don't see that. And it would be very weird
Yeah.
To put it on your rice first. But as we often do, I think, in Western Chinese restaurants. As it were.
Yes.
Anyway, so he asked for salt and pepper, and she's like,
什么东西？
Now, the implication here could be, are you suggesting that this food hasn't been cooked properly?
Yeah, that's another side of it.
Oh, because the chef in China, you don't mess with these guys. They
It's
cook.
our ordained role to cook, to season the food properly.
That's it.
So if you ask for seasoning, they might take,
They don't take offense to it. It might be the equivalent of saying, is this food cooked? It's like,
And I think a big faux pas is to ask for salt and pepper in someone's home if
Yes.
someone has cooked you a meal. that would be like slapping the face.
exactly. So what we might be looking at here is we're positing this as an interesting cultural tidbit here because
Exactly.
Generally speaking, they don't have it in Chinese restaurants, and to ask for it is slightly to leave them slightly confused by what you mean. They might interpret it in any other ways. Also, I wouldn't recommend that you do it in somebody's house for Chinese food. Where it could be used, of course, is if you're in a Western restaurant with
Yeah.
Western food and you think you want to add some to it. But generally, they'll assume that it has been seasoned before, so be warned. Now, he repeats it, and it's good for our tones here. So let's hear how he repeated it nice and slowly. He said it.
盐和胡椒，盐和胡椒
So that's salt again
and
pepper. Now, a very brief answer, and she does it with a tone of voice which is dismissive, to say the least. She says,
没有，
没有,
没有。
没有.
Let's try it nicely.
Okay.
没有，
没有,
没有。
没有.
See,
That would be much more
putting
sort
a positive spin on a negative story.
Exactly. But she's like, don't bother me with this. We don't have that stuff.
什么东西？
Exactly.
没有。
Now, don't get the wrong impression here. I mean, waiting staff. The whole concept of waiting is very, very different anyway. So
对啊。
be prepared for some differences. But generally, she's slightly curt, this one, and you won't run into it that often. Or if you do, you've learned it here in Chinese Pod. And maybe we'll do a follow-up of how you should react
Okay.
at some point. Anyway, let's listen to that 3 more times, shall we?
Dialogue, first time.
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
什么东西？
盐和胡椒。
没有。
Second time.
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
什么东西？
盐和胡椒。
没有。
Third time.
小姐，有盐和胡椒吗？
什么东西？
盐和胡椒。
没有。
Can I have to say, in some high-end restaurants,
Yeah.
or certainly Western restaurants, you
Yes.
do find salt and pepper
Yes,
on
you
the
do.
table.
Yes, you do.
Pre-packaged little
For
packets,
sure.
对吧？
I mean, it's like Western restaurants now. There are two types of Western restaurants. There are Western restaurants that are sort of run and opened by Western people, and then there are some Western restaurants that are run and
Localized.
by localized, yeah, for local consumers. And so the tastes will be quite different there, and some of the conventions might be slightly surprising, as happens when you go to a Chinese restaurant in the West.
Yes.
Right? Some of the conventions, like, individual dishes and stuff like that, you never see that in Chinese, well, very specific types of restaurants,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, no. But that's all part of the fun and games, So I think these, these cultural things are kind of fun. And
We do have a lot of that on ChinesePod.com.
I think it's very important, really, I know that a lot of our learners are kind of aspire at some point to go to China and to experience it.
对。
So these are things that are helpful and I think insightful, because you do stand out like a sore thumb if you're in the middle of a restaurant. You know enough to say, "Oh, give me the salt and pepper." It's just a little bit odd. So culturally, just put that into perspective for you. It almost implies that the chef hasn't done his job. Anyway,
好, we had a good time.
yes,
Go to ChinesePod and continue the fun time.
exactly.
We'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, 再见.
再见.
As usual, ChinesePod provides an extensive selection of learning materials for this lesson on its website, www.chinesepod.com. You can access this lesson directly with the lesson number
1014.
So just go to www.chinesepod.com/1014 and you will find a transcript, vocabulary, and much more. The link again, www.chinesepod.com/1014.